Right here are the little pistons that trigger the flutter valves. All I did basically, triple alt or 3 or 4 alt steel wool. Just remove the, as I drop it on the floor and roll over it, just take some steel wool right up to where that rubber seal is. Just clean it really good. Give it a good buff. And down in the groove if you can. There's a little bit of, you see the pitting there on it. Let's hit that a little piece of 1000 grit, and then we'll buff it with the steel wool. That looks good. And you see that corrosion down in there. The rust right here. And around the hole where that pin was. Same thing over here. Need to clean this whole cavity. Get rid of all the corrosion. It looks better. You don't really need to do anything in there on either side. One of those came out with the O-ring. That one came out with the O-ring. The other one's still in the hole. Be really careful with these. These really should be squeaky clean. You can see all that buildup right there. I don't know where that came from. There's trash down in here at some point. Okay, these are clean. Give these a good wipe. It definitely could use solvent cleaning. I would just dunk it in Berryman's Chem Dip, the carburetor cleaner, but I'm afraid it'll eat these seals up. How about some old mineral spirits? Whoops. And if you notice when I squirt this in this hole right here, see where it comes out? That's where the pressure release comes through from the valve body. It's these two holes. And then these come from the two lines, the top two lines that come from the pump. And this alternates between these two. So, and as these flutter valves, pressure from here goes into this port into here, pushes these out. I can't pull it all the way out, but when the pressure is applied in there, when the motor turns and activates the ABS, it pushes that open and lets that fluid flow back in it. It oscillates back and forth and creates a pulsing in the braking system without actually relieving the pressure itself for the whole system. Not really a whole lot to these things. Just got to make sure that, like, there's some junk right here. Right there in that little divot. Make sure the valve body works, which we haven't gotten to. Make sure this system works. Make sure the motor works. I mean, main thing is to make sure all these pathways are clean and open, and that that these work, and that your pistons are clean and move. So based on that one being seized in here, I would suspect that this ABS probably would not have worked. The motor would have ran, everything would have turned on. Computer said everything was fine, but I doubt it would have actually fluttered the pedal. There's still a little bit of corrosion right down in there. Right here. I got it. This bearing definitely, you can tell where it has moved in its lifetime based on the wearing on it. All I'm gonna do is re-grease that. That grease looks pretty old down in there. So this is pretty much done. We flushed it out with mineral spirits. It'll evaporate. And this bearing will not come apart. I don't think you can get the, let's see if you can get the needles out. It's a little needle bearing. I doubt they'll come out though. Because I think they're crimped in from this side, keeps them from coming out. Yeah, there's a race right there. It's not gonna come out. Or a cage, I mean, not a race. Okay, well, let's see if a little bit of mineral spirits will dissolve that grease. Scrambling eggs. Slowly but surely. Let that sit. We'll come back to that in a minute. I don't see that coming apart. Not with that, the age of this. Don't think I'm gonna be taking that apart. You can see how those threads are gone right there. There's some threads towards the back, but they're not anywhere as defined as these. It's because someone stripped it. I wish I could get that apart, but these screws are beyond removal. Don't want to poke a hole in anything. Oh, the diaphragms still move. And the wiring diagram does not match the colors on this, so I'm not sure how I'm going to test the solenoids in here. But I want to make sure each one actually does something. If I can find another valve body. If I can find another valve body, I'll just swap it out. It's an ATE part. So the diagram shows that's left in, left out. I don't understand that because this only has 4 outputs. There's not an in and out. There's 2 reds. Pin 1 is red. And this is a 10. This is a 10 position, but the colors don't match at all. Green and red is pin 10. 10 is red. There is no green stripe on it that I can see. And this is without the traction control because I don't have that. I don't think this diagram's right. This is supposed to be for this model, but I don't, the color codes don't match up to the valve body. None of these colors or anything having to do with anything on this. Unless the colors change between here and the harness. Let me go look at the harness real quick. That's exactly what it is. I'm gonna have to do pin matching between this and what's on the car because the car is not the same color set. Fun. Let me do a cross reference and then we'll play around with it. Alright, so what I see here with this wiring setup is pin 1 and 10 is voltage, and then it looks like 2 through 9 are going to be triggers, ground triggers. Pin 1, I think pin 10 should have it too, but we'll test it on 1 and hit 2. Yep, I hear it. I hear the solenoid. Woo. That was me shorting out on the wires. I don't know if you can hear it or not. So that is left rear in, left rear out will be 4. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that one works. 2, let's see, 3 is right rear in. Yep. Right rear flow out is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Let's see, 2, 3, 4. 4 is left rear out. And left rear in, 2 and 4. They all work. They all click. Can't really see anything though. All you can do is hear them. The solenoids work. So the valve body's fine. Working from that perspective. So I would say we put it back together once I get the bearing for the motor. So I think this is okay. We can set this aside. This, all of the relays click. Here is the seal plate. I need to clean that up. That goes down like that. And the valve body sits on top of it. I'm at the motor body. Fluid does go in there, but only on this side. but I want to kind of have it go through and pour through. There we go. And start to flow out down here. That clips down onto those two. Here we go. Back and forth like that. There we go. That's how it should have been moving to start with. Let's check on our bearing soak here. Looks like all of the grease is gone. Nice and clean and loose. I'm gonna let that mineral spirits evaporate out for a bit. It's all milky now because it dissolved all that grease. Then we'll pack this full of moly. And this goes back on. Gets tapped into place. Let's see. I'm actually thinking maybe I want to grease that a little better. Now that is ready for the motor to go back on once we get the bearing in for it. I think the old bronze with the oil that's in there, new oil should help with the sound of this thing running. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna put a little bit of moly grease down in there in that bushing. Get it to stay centered. It should be a lot more quiet. A lot more.